Plateau at Metalopolis. I'm not a huge fan of Metalopolis, but whatever. Anyway, so we are going to get started on game number 2. And of course, I will pick up some radio silence for the next, 20 seconds while we load the game. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm ButteryGreg, and I'm here in match number 2 of ESC, which I learned stands for Esports Central, the qualifier match between Team Legion and Decerto. And it is going to be a ZVT on Metalopolis. So spawning in the top position, we've got Team Legion's iDrone as the red Zerg, and his opponent in the cross position is going to be Decerto's Matty as the light blue Terran, which is the same color he had last time, of course. iDrone opting for the more standard red color. So it is going to be a cross-position ZVT. Now, I'm a Protoss player, so I can sit and talk about Protoss games all day. I have a little bit more trouble discussing Zerg and Terran. However, I would expect to see one of two things out of Terran in the early game. Because, again, the big thing, of course, about most of these matchups is... Well, here we go. The big thing about most of these matchups is pressuring your opponent early, especially against Zerg. If you sit back and let Zerg build up an economy, Zerg is going to pull really far ahead of you in the late game, and you're not going to be able to match his macro. And he's going to be able to throw cost-ineffective units at you, but just do it consistently, and eventually you'll die to them. So, in order to deal with that, both Terran and Protoss, they do this in different ways, but they need to pressure Zerg early. And so, for Terran, there are really two options. He can open with a Hellion, like a Reactor Hellion play, or he can open with a 2-Rax Bunker Rush. And both of these are great because they allow Terran to force Zerg to not make drones, which is the name of the game before the 10-minute mark. You want to limit Zerg's exploding economy as much as possible. And it looks like iDrone is going to be going for a 15 hatch, or 16 hatch possibly. I wasn't quite looking at the timer, but hey. So, he is, of course, he's going to be going for that standard economic Zerg. And so Matty's objective here is going to be to limit exactly how economic he can get. He's got his gas geyser down, however, with this timing, he's not going to be making a factory at the same time, so if he goes for a Hellion play, it's going to be a little bit delayed. We see iDrone is blocking the add-on here, that's very crucial. This means if he wanted to go for a reactor factory, he'd have to move his barracks, which would slow it down slightly, and give iDrone more time to get his defenses up. But he's going to retreat with his drone because the Marines are coming out. Very good timing right there. He can't see the production bar, but he timed his drone leaving almost perfectly with how long it takes for that Marine to build. Anyway, we've got Matty's SCV moving up. He's moving into iDrone's natural. So he's going to see that iDrone is going for an early expansion because the hatchery is almost done and the pool is still not quite done. His gas, of course, is just now going up. And so now we will see that it looks like Matty's going to open with Hellions. And I think this is a great choice because Hellions are great against Lynx. So iDrone has a couple of options. He can get a Spine Crawler down, he can get an Evo Chamber down, and he can go for a little bit of SimCity. This is actually cool. This is a fake Bunker Rush. This is actually very nice too. This just pulls some drones off the line. I mean, iDrone, he's not getting carried away. He only pulls 2 drones. But I think this is very nice too, just sort of playing a little bit of a mind game because he doesn't have the Marines to back this up. He's only got 1 barracks, and he's making a reactor with it for his Hellions, right? So he can't actually Bunker Rush him. But it was a little bit of a distraction play. That's kind of cool. Anyway, what was I saying? Right, so we're going to see Hellions, and iDrone can react to this a couple of different ways. He can go for Spine Crawlers like he's doing. He's got 1 Spine Crawler. This is sort of a default Spine Crawler. You always see this in ZVT just because he needs some static defenses, and it's sort of more larva effective to get a Spine Crawler than it is to mass up, say, 10 Zerglings. Because, sure, it costs you 1 drone, but 10 Zerglings cost you 5 drones. So you get a better economy even if you invest in a Spine Crawler. Anyway, so we see iDrone's going to do a little bit more scouting here, and now he's going to see this reactor, and he's going to see this factory. Well, does he see the factory? Yeah, he sees the factory. And so, he even sees a Hellion come out. And the thing that this tells him... Oh, wow, he's actually not going... Man, Matty's just playing some crazy head games. He's going for a 1-1-1 here. This was totally unexpected. I thought he'd be going for Hellions. I was going to say, so what iDrone's going to do now, he's going to have to decide how to defend against what he probably believes is a Hellion attack. And looks like he's opting for more Spine Crawlers. whereas you'll see other players will go for a Roach Warren, because Roaches are great against Hellions. Hellions don't do very much damage against them. But iDrone is actually going to be going for just a little bit of SimCity here, a couple of well-placed Spine Crawlers. He's going to get some Banelings. Now, I think Banelings against Hellions is kind of an interesting choice. Let me see what armor type. Hellions are light, so Banelings are going to do bonus damage against them, which is pretty good. But this is I think this is sort of a non-standard response to a perceived Hellion opener, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, at the same time, we see Matty's actually gearing up for a relatively large one-base play here. It almost looks like he's playing against Protoss with this lineup here. He's going Cloak Banshees, you know, standard 1-1-1 play right here. And seeing this reactor still on this barracks is going to clue iDrone into the fact that there is something wrong. It is not a Hellion play. So we'll see if he's able to get his defenses up in time. He's just now throwing down the Roach Horn, but there's the Evo Chamber. Okay, this is critical. We've got Cloak almost done. There are no Spore Crawlers on the field, but he does have this Evo Chamber, which will allow him to reasonably quickly react once he realizes that there are going to be Cloak Banshees available on the field. Come on, Hellions, I want to follow you. At the same time, iDrone's going to move out with a little bit of a Ling poke here, try to apply some pressure to his opponent, and Matty's going to be moving out with his Cloak Banshee Harass. iDrone's map control is not very good right now, I must say. He doesn't have these watchtowers, which this is a must. If you're playing the reactionary Zerg style that we see right here, just it's all macro and you react to any problems that you perceive, you really need to hold on to those towers so you can see these Banshees coming in. So iDrone, you know, he doesn't have any detection right now. He doesn't have layer tech, which is kind of a problem. He just lost his first queen. His spore crawlers are going down now, but it's a lot later than they could have been if he'd scouted these Banshees at the watchtower. He's got all these. He's morphing a bunch of Banelings here. He's probably going to go for a big counter bust. This could be his only hope of staying alive. Ooh, wow, he's gotten a lot of drone kills here. These Cloak Banshees are just going to town. He actually, I dare say, Matty doesn't really need to be using Cloak all that much because there is no anti-air at the moment. There's one queen at a time, of course, but he could have easily just saved his Cloak for after the static defenses got up. And we see iDrone's big Baneling bust is going to commence here. Takes down the depot in the reactor, but these Marines and tanks have way too much DPS for the Banelings to get very close. So Lings have to run in and do a little bit of tanking. Cleans up most of the Marines and a couple of SCVs, but Matty's able to defend no problem. These Banshees are still wreaking havoc on iDrone's base. He's killed, let's check this out, he's killed 21 drones. iDrone does have the Spore Crawler down at the natural, and he's got another one in his main down. So he's actually able to do some damage, but he's still going to lose a couple of drones. Is that a transfuse on a drone? Holy crap, I believe he just transfused that drone. That's how important that drone was to him. He was going to spend 75 energy on transfusing it. Finally, iDrone is able to clean up both of these Banshees, but it looks like Matty's taken a really strong lead. This is kind of a risky play, I think, because he is still on one base, you know, at the 10-minute mark. So if these Banshees had been scouted and he hadn't done very much damage, he would be forced to go all in. But at this point, of course, he's got two options. He can either really commit to a very strong push here, which of course iDrone has scouted the unit composition. He knows that he's going to need to make something to defend himself. Or he can just expand, because iDrone is really not in a good position to pressure him in response. So he could easily just throw down a command center, take an expansion, and then move forward with a macro element of the game. So we'll see which one he decides. Looks like iDrone is finally taking these watchtowers. That's good. He learned his lesson from his Banshees. He's got a couple of Roaches moving out here. Not really sure where they're going. They're not going to do any damage, that's for sure. But maybe he's getting a little bit of scouting in. Same time, iDrone is starting to pull his economy back together. He's actually floating a little bit over 400 minerals, so he could probably afford to throw down a macro hatch and just pump out drones a little bit faster, sort of help him get back into this economy game. Because his econ's actually ahead. That's weird. He's got fewer workers, but he's mining. I'm not sure how he's got more minerals than a Terran player. A little bit surprising. But in any case, we see that Matty's moving out with his very big push here. He's brought a couple of SCVs to repair the tanks, but it's really not at all, you know, he's just going for a really safe, strong one-base push at this point. We see he's still not expanding behind us, so I hesitate to call it all in still, because even if this fails, he could just transition and make a command center, because he's got a pretty strong lead. iDrone's going to be stuck with a very, very thin defense here. He's down 25 food. Let me check this. He's up in the worker count, which means he's got even less army, and now Matty's able to just siege up kind of inside his natural at this point. He's getting the tank line set up here. He's going to start moving forward. And iDrone's going to have a lot of trouble cleaning this up. There's just too many tanks, and they're spread out quite well right now. Banelings are going to move in, but they get picked off, and they actually did pretty much 0 damage. We see the Lings running in from the back. Roach is tanking a lot of damage, but they go down fairly quickly because there were 3 tanks shooting at them. And now there's this massive clump of bio. So iDrone's going to be forced to GG. Matty's going to take the game, and Decerto is going to lead the series 2-0.